So let's go ahead and start building our glass carafe, and we'll start with the revolved outer surface. Revolve is basically like you would expect. It's a surface that goes around a center. And we're going to need a two-dimensional sketch in order to create that. So let's start by clicking the Sketch button in the Sketch tab on the tool strip at the top. And then I'm going to click on the right plane in the viewport and choose my Line tool. Now, to draw a line, all I have to do is click in the viewport, and then I can drag my mouse up. You can see it's telling me that I've gone about 7 inches. It doesn't matter how far I go. I'm going to add my dimensions later. And now it's going to draw another straight line by default. Now, I could exit the tool by hitting Escape, or, hitting Escape would be the main way. Or I could also click up here to exit the tool. But actually, I want to draw an arc next. And so to do that, all I have to do is mouse over this point here, and now my tool will switch to an arc. Now, another way to do that is hit the A key on the keyboard, and that's going to toggle us back and forth between line mode and arc mode. So I'm just hitting A, and it's toggling back and forth. So there we go. Now I can go to arc and draw my little arc. Now I'll hit the Escape key because I'm done, and I'm going to use my Dimension tool, and I want to make a dimension from the front plane to this line here. I could choose the origin of the sketch, but I prefer to constrain to the planes themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and constrain to that plane and make that 1.875 inches. And now make the, let's do another one from the front plane to this point, and this one's going to be 1.95 inches. I'm going to make a vertical dimension from the top point to the next one down. We'll make that 1 inch. And lastly, we want to define the total height of the whole object. So I'm going to go from this point, and I've clicked this point now, so my list is gone. I can't choose the top plane, but actually I can. Up here, it's just hidden, this little list. If I expand it, I can see there's my item list. So I can choose my top plane and say I want this to be exactly 7 inches tall. And the only thing that's still blue in this sketch is this point down here. It is not automatically constrained, even though we snapped to the top plane there. By default, it doesn't automatically constrain it. So I'm going to click on the top plane, and then hold the Control key and click on this point, and then click on the Coincident button over in the Properties tab. And now our sketch is fully constrained. So if I go ahead and, one more thing we need to add is in the middle, right here, I'm just going to hit Escape. Now I'll select this item, and I want to set it to be for construction. I can check the box over here in the line properties, or I can click the line once in the viewport and come up to construction geometry in the context menu. That's just going to give this a phantom dashed line, which basically we'll be using as our center line when we revolve. So we'll go ahead and jump out of that, and we can go back to our default view. We can do that up here, or like I said, we can right-click in the viewport and just drag up diagonally. Go to Surfaces, Revolve Surface. It's going to ask what we want to revolve. I need to choose my sketch, so I'll just click on the sketch here. And now it's just going to start my revolve. Now, I already have this set up the way that I want it. Basically, I just, by default, it's going to choose the center line of our sketch. We could choose a different line if we wanted to. And this setting here I have set to mid-plane. If it's one direction, it'll go, well, one direction. In this case, I want it to go both directions, and I want the total angle to be 180 degrees. And then I'll click the little checkbox to commit it, and now I have my surface. Now, as it turns out, there's this black line in the middle, and I'm not crazy about that for reasons that are, well, beyond explanation at this point. I'm not going to explain it now, but basically I have two separate faces on my surface, and I don't like that. The reason I have two separate faces is because in my sketch I have a line and I have an arc, and those two things are separate, and therefore the resulting surface has two separate pieces. I'm going to edit this sketch by left-clicking it and hitting Edit Sketch in the context menu. Then I can just hold the Control key and click both of these items and go up to the Spline button here. And instead of clicking Spline, there's a little arrow to the right of it. I'll click that and go down to Fit Spline. Fit Spline is going to create a spline that approximates, very, very, very closely approximates, the line and the arc in our sketch. So now I can just go ahead and hit the checkbox, And if I click on this curve now, even though I still have my original dimensions, and I can still edit them just like before, change that to 2 inches, and it updates the way you would expect. But I have one long continuous spline curve now, and it's a curvature continuous curve. So when I hit my commit button, now my surface is one big face, which is going to be a lot cleaner as we continue to work. So the only other thing we need to do is create the other half of this before we go any further. I did this in halves because it's, well, again, I'm not going to explain now why, but I think it's going to be easier for us in the long run. So let's go to the Features tab, go to Mirror, and we need to choose the plane across which we will mirror the surface. So I'll expand our item list here, go down to the front plane, and it says Features to Mirror. I could go ahead and select this revolve, but I actually want to mirror the body, just as a matter of habit. I generally mirror bodies, not features. So I'll mirror this body across, make sure that Knit Surfaces is not checked, click OK. So now I have two separate surfaces that comprise the entirety of the outside of our eventual glass carafe. And the next thing we're going to do is add the spout, and we'll do that in the next video.